And I have Reef making your dives count.
Yep,
Perfect.
that is it. So, can everyone see that? Maybe yes.
I can, yes.
If people come up with questions, there's normally a chat box or something in Zoom.
Yep.
Or we'll have time to ask questions at the end. This is clearly a very popular fish on this first slide because it actually doesn't exist. So the Reef Environmental Education Foundation has over 20,000 surveys submitted in Washington state alone. And it has 270,167 surveys at over 15,000 sites worldwide. It's been going on since 1993, and divers and snorkelers are relied upon to become citizen scientists and monitor fish populations. When we had the big sunflower star die out in the Pacific Northwest and up and down the West Coast, they actually monitored the data by what reef surveyors were turning in. So it's the largest ocean citizen science program currently operating, and it's worldwide. And it's publicly accessible with an online database. And there's projects that keep going on. You'll see this surveyor here is surveying a Cnidaria family, which is the white plumose anemone. So you can see that a lot of people are already familiar with some of the animals and creatures that are surveyed up here. This is where you can survey. So, Tom, you can see that tropical Eastern Pacific over there is where I just was, and the Indian Ocean Northwest, and we are up in the Pacific Northwest, US and Canada. So our zone actually goes from up around northern Alaska down almost to San Diego. So TWA is tropical Western Atlantic. For those folks who are thinking that would be Cozumel, the Cayman Islands. The Pacific Northwest is PNW. You can see Hawaii has a lot of surveys, and I'm guessing that's because the weather's nice there and people get to get in the water a lot more than we do. But it is all over the world, and the survey counts keep rising. This is current data. I pulled it from Reef yesterday. So why would one do surveys? Well, you help with the science, research, and resource management for fish populations and also marine life, just in terms of ocean health. And it gives a purpose to your dives. Not a lot of people, or not many people anymore, shoot video and cameras all the time, but this gives you another purpose, and you can track changes over time. So even within the Reef database, once you start filing surveys, you can actually sort them by sites you've visited. Like, how many surveys have I done at Redondo? You can resort your own data in the database to find out those answers. And it becomes sort of a treasure hunt. You can start each dive with this dive. I'm going to find 3 brown rockfish and 2 copper rockfish and 3 plumose anemones. And it becomes like a treasure hunt as you're diving to locate those creatures. And by doing so, you become an advocate for the underwater world. By what you're reporting goes into a scientific database, and you're helping keep the oceans healthy and keep the fish populations up in the areas they need to be. So scientific publications using reef data. This is just so you know that you're not contributing to something that's going to sit in a database and not go anywhere. There were 7 scientific papers in 2021 and only 1 so far in 2022. But over the past 30 years, there's been over 120 scientific papers. And they partner with government agencies, science, academic institutions. One of the partners up here that does a lot of operations with Reef is the Saltwater State Park operations over there. They do a lot of activities involving Reef and Reef data. And this is how it works. How long have you lived here? And the fish is supposed to tell you. So, do you need to be an expert to get started once you sign into Reef and get a free number? No, you don't. These 3 animals here are probably familiar. Tom, any ideas? Who are they? Anybody?
I'm going to go with the wolf eel on the bottom.
Okay.
I'm not going to name the other 2 because I'm probably going to be wrong, but I think it's some kind of rockfish. But
you're right. It is a part of the they're both part of the scorpion fish family. Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
tiger rockfish, and are those blacks?
Those are black, Scott. Yep,
Yeah.
that is a tiger rockfish, and we don't see tiger rockfish in Puget Sound. They're up in the San Juan Islands and further north. But the black rockfish that are in the picture on the right, you can find at Z's Reef. There are a few of them that congregate around the concrete block that the buoy is tied to, and they're also at Saltwater State Park. So these are other surveys in the Pacific Northwest include all these species right here. And I'm sure that some of you have seen these diving and know what they are already, so you don't have to start from scratch. So upper left is what? Anybody? Scott?
You're not going to make me answer all these, are you?
No, I'm not. I told Jana I was going to make you quiz. Those are
giant plumose anemone cnidarians.
Yeah, those are white plumose anemones. What about the little guy with the orange little feet at the top?
Grunt sculpin.
You're right, grunt sculpin, and underneath the grunt sculpin,
Painted greenling.
painted greenling, and lower left,
California sea cucumber.
Lewis's moon snail. Lower left.
Oh,
as I'm
sorry,
looking
I
at
was
it.
on the right.
And well, the other one, you're right. That is a California sea cucumber. These are all species that divers in the Pacific Northwest become familiar with because we can see them on almost every dive. And these are some of the ones that you mark on your survey paper. So you already know some of these. And the rockfish scorpion fish family examples. So this is something where you get into more of your fish identification. These are both rockfish. The one on the left is what? Give you a hint, it's not the copper. The brown rockfish.
Brown.
If you look at the brown rockfish, behind his eye, there's a brown spot on the gill cover. And that is the identifying feature of a brown rockfish. And on the right-hand side picture, the two copper rockfish there, they normally have from about halfway down their body a lateral line that's white that almost looks like it's drawn on there, and they have gold bars coming down from their eyes. So the way I used to remember this is to think that the gold bars and that long stripe would remind me of copper tubing, so therefore copper rockfish. So you learn to identify them by doing online fissionars at Reef, and I'll show you where to find those. Fishy fun and learning, wherever you're at, you can open these webinars. It's someone that talks to you and they have slides, and there's a huge archive of them, over 200 of them, of fish and creatures from around the world. So it's an easy way to learn. And like I said, over 200, and some of them have like a cheat sheet where you can actually print a piece of paper that will have a picture of each fish they're talking about and how to identify it. And then you can make your own notes on it to help you. I did this before I went to Fiji, and it helped on most of the fish, not all of them. When they go by really, really fast, I'm just not sure what they are. You can purchase any of these things. This is how you learn to identify fish, by purchasing materials or books. I keep a couple of these, actually 3 of these, I keep on Sampan. I have the coastal fish and the whelks to whales and the beneath the Pacific tides ones. So when you purchase these items to learn more about how to identify fish, the coastal fish one actually has arrows that point to the identifying features, like the brown spot for the brown rockfish, which makes it easy to learn. And
are all fish guides good fish guides?
They're all good. They're all good. They all act, yeah, they all do something, maybe thing. They all help you identify. And my favorite book is the Coastal Fishes one, and that just recently was released, and you can purchase it from Reef. Amazon, I think, also has it for those of you who are Amazon aficionados. But it's my favorite book for fish, but it does not have invertebrates. So invertebrates like plumose anemones or worms or shrimp or crabs are not in that book. And so for that book, I use the whelks to whales one. I don't think I can go backwards here. I'm trying to figure this out. Yeah. This one down here at the bottom, whelks to whales. Can you see my cursor? Or is that just me? Tom?
We
can
can
you
see, we can see it.
Yeah, okay, so this one is the one I use for inverts. This is the one I use for fish. And this is the one that has a lot more detail of the tiny things you see subtitle in the tide zones, but has great descriptions also of other animals. I own all these books. I only keep the whelks to whales, the coastal fish, and beneath the tides on sampan. So they're always there for reference if you want to look at them. And these cards up here are really handy. And I do have some, Tom, that I will bring on Sunday. And that have some of the common fishes from up here. And I can hand them out to people. I don't have any of these slates in stock, but I do have some paper for up here if anyone's interested in trying to do a survey on Sunday. But you would have to get your number first because you have to fill in your number to submit your data. So the technique for doing a survey is different from some other agencies that follow a certain line underwater. We use a roving diver technique. So it's a cumulative count of what you see while you're wandering around your favorite dive site. And so you only record what you see, not if your buddy sees something and you don't see it. So it's one survey per diver per dive. So maybe if you and your buddy are both surveying, you might see the same animals or you might see different ones depending on where your eyes are looking at the exact same time during the dive. But the important part is bullet number 3. When in doubt, leave it out. Don't report anything you're not absolutely positive about what that is. And you record the relative abundance and presence. So a single is one animal. So if you would see one painted greenling, you would say 1. So you're swimming along and you see another one. So then that would move that sighting up to a few, 2 to 10. If by any chance it's during mating season and you get over 10 of them, then you're into the many category down here. For those of you who have recently dove sunrise with all the green sea urchins and they are tracked, those would be abundant unless you're going to count 101 of them. But you can generally look and feel that there are over 100 animals, frequently schooling fish, schooling sandlands, which is a tiny type of perch or sardine type animal. Those come in they're abundant just the way they exist. That's how you see them. You rarely see one at a time. So you can survey anywhere. Look how happy these people are. See, they're getting ready to go in the beach up here. This person's checking their books to make sure they got their information correct. And here's a beach where people can go in and snorkel. And there's a person diving. And over here, there's photo by Jana Nichols. There's someone snorkeling. I have done snorkel surveys and submitted them. And the difference is that when they ask you for your maximum depth on your survey paper, you will check snorkel, which means that you're at the surface looking down at the animals that you're counting. So here it says, what do you survey? Well, you survey all the fish you see. I don't know how to get rid of this thing at the front, at the top. I have this little thing here. Go away. Temperate cold water regions survey invertebrates and algae, and also kelp, bull kelp and giant kelp. And also you track the presence of eelgrass, whether it is present at your survey site or not present. And you can start with only one fish and then add more as you learn them. For instance, when I just went to Fiji and had no idea how many fish were in the water, I memorized 10 fish before my first dive that I drop dead knew those fish. So my first survey in Fiji is 10 fish because that's what I knew. And as I spent more time in the water during the week and studied some more, I added some more fish onto that. But it's important to report only what you're absolutely positive it is, and only mark it on your slate if the abundance factor is important too. If you only see one, then just mark 1. I mean, sometimes people go, oh, well, if I saw one, there's bound to be others. Well, it's important to note that you just saw one because maybe it has to do with water temperature. or tides or the time of day that you were diving. So this is where this is a screenshot of the Reef website, and this is where you submit data. I can show you that when I'm through with this, the PowerPoint here. I'll log into Reef as me and share my screen. And you can get full color laminated cards. I took one of these to Fiji and it was so popular, I left it with the dive masters. But you can get one of these for almost any area that you're surveying. And the other thing you can do is you can join a field survey trip. Reef has trips open to Reef members all around the world. And on those trips, you learn to fish in other parts of the world. You have daily lessons while you're there, and you do your dives, and you're diving with people also learning those fish. And then you gather data from different regions outside the Pacific Northwest. Most recently, Reef had an expedition to Cuba. They go to Belize, they go to the Cayman Islands, they go to Mexico, they go to Socorro. So once you're a member of Reef, you can log in and go to this website here at the trips and see if there's anything that you would be interested in learning. And you don't have to travel to those regions as an expert. The purpose is for people to learn about those fish while they're there. And there will be somebody on the boat that knows them very well that can help you in learning. So when you join Reef, up here is where you join. When you open the website, it's easy website, it's reef.org. And it get your number, and then you can use all the things on Reef that it has, all the Reef trips, the programs, the learning resources, and you have access to those. And that's about it for the PowerPoint. So let me see if I can get out of here. I got out of here. Screen sharing stopped. Okay, thank you. Hi, Miho. So she's not saying anything.
She's got it.
Hi, I'm actually driving right now. That's why I've been kind of quiet. I'm heading back
You're
home.
driving. So, any questions on any of that kind of stuff? Because I'm going to turn off my camera and then I'm going to log in to Reef so you can see the kind of information you can get when you're in there. Sound good?
Please. Yeah, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, or you can put it through the chat if you want, but I would encourage folks to go ahead and ask questions if they have them.
And there is a note in the chat, The Crabs and Shrimps by Gregory Jensen is an excellent, fantastic book for crabs and shrimps, and it is. And Greg was on the boat just yesterday looking at crabs and shrimps. So,
Awesome.
All right, so I need to share my screen. I haven't done this and gone to the internet before, so hopefully this won't be embarrassing. I guess I need another, select a window. This is weird. It says select a window to share. And I've never done this. Do I just highlight myself?
Yeah, well, it should say usually like entire screen or something.
Oh, it's there. What are you seeing now?
Your presentation. Oh wait, no, that's it. That's it.
Now you're seeing a picture of a blue nudibranch that just went away.
Yep.
Now you're going to see my messy screen. So, can you see this? Can you see the Reef website opening?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So up here, it says login, which is behind my talking bubble, Jackie Myers. But you can see here, take a dive vacation that counts. There's a monthly e-newsletter you get. And then you have all these resources up here. Those are their programs, Reef trips, learning resources. Normally you cannot access these unless you're logged in. I'll see what it says. It's thinking. It's still thinking.
It's thinking.
Thinking. I don't have a lot of screens open. You know what? I'm gonna close this PowerPoint. Maybe that will help.
So Jackie, while you're doing that, so for folks that are interested in kind of just getting started,
Yes.
are there fish that you would recommend in the Pacific Northwest? I mean, you know, that are something that most people would know that they might want to start out with?
Well, the ones I had in the slide presentation, a couple of the areas new surveyors get confused with is the difference between Dungeness crabs and red rock crabs. And other than counting the notches on the carapace, the easy way is red rock crabs have black tip claws. In the front, they're big claws. So.
And if you mess with them, red rocks can actually grab you from behind, I've heard.
I don't know about that. Yeah, my computer is really confused right now. It doesn't want, what's a post attendee Zoom thing?
That's just another window.
I closed it.
Okay, we can give it another minute or so. It might just be thinking.
Well, it thinks a lot.
Yeah, you might want to turn, the other would be to turn off your video, and maybe and I can turn mine off. That might give you some extra.
All righty. So
internet.
just go stop video.
Yeah, just go stop video.
Yeah.
Okay, it's stopped.
All
Can you
right.
still hear me?
I can. We can.
And try stopping the refresh and restarting it. If you just go to your X in the upper left-hand corner.
And do
The
what?
left, not the right. No, go to the left. That'll close your window. The
That one?
X right there. Yeah. Click that, and then go to the link again. See if that helps.
All this technical terms. Link. Do you mean refresh the page? I'm old. Yeah, it just keeps going back and forth. Let me close this window. I don't think I'm closing everybody.
No, you
No.
shouldn't be.
No. All right. Can you see my desktop? Isn't it messy? You see my blue nudibranch right there from Fiji? Yeah.
Yep.
Wonder if I opened on Microsoft Edge instead of Google. Don't know.
Can try it and see.
It says I'm not talking. Oh, I am talking. It's nice when your computer tells you you're talking. Where do we get rid of the talking thing? Go away. It's trying to go. Well, it won't go there. Let's see if it'll do the submit data one. I normally can run a couple things at a time and it doesn't do this.
Well, it always acts that way when you don't want it to work, or when you want it to work.
I know. Go away. Hmm. No, not going. Tom, you
You want me
joined,
to
right?
log in?
Yeah,
do
you
you
can
want-
probably log in and share your screen. Let me go
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I just was, let me go ahead and share it and you can tell me where to go.
I just need
Share.
to, here we are.
Yeah, I just logged in. I had to reset my password, but there we go. And then where would you like me to go?
Go to submit data.
Submit data.
Now you have to put your member ID in. You can put in mine,
Okay, what's yours?
28222.
28222
Last name Myers, MYERS.
YERS.
Log in,
Log in.
click
Uh,
next.
Next.
So I would click, like for my survey today, under Pacific Northwest, you would click Fish and Invertebrates to the right of your screen down there.
Pacific Northwest.
Fish and Invertebrates.
Yep.
And then down here, see where it enters the date? You can keep scrolling up. Once the date and then the dive start, your time. So today's May
What's today? Today's the
11th.
11th, right?
11th, right? 2022.
2022.
Dive
Dive
start
start.
10:45 a.m. So you go to the closest hour. So I would put 11 a.m.
Okay.
Geographic zone. Click down and the region is Washington.
Okay.
And then the cheater box,
Jackie,
right?
when would people want, when would users want to choose fish only as opposed to fish and invertebrates?
If you don't feel comfortable surveying both, you don't have to. It's your choice. I just, as an advanced assessment team, I always survey both, but you could do only fish if you wanted to. So you'll see when the
And
paper,
Reef-
when the paper comes up and you can see the survey list, you'll see that it has invertebrates and fish on it. If you were to choose fish only, you would only get the fish to survey that are tracked in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Kind of your
Limits the
choice.
list.
Yeah, so down where it says geographic zone code next to Washington in that refined search, type Sunrise. And then on the left, you see where it says Sunrise Beach County Park, way over the left.
Yeah.
Click that. Now it's going to show you where it is, and that's the correct one. So you just close that box again. You have to go, close that tab and click next. Oh, now see the little, down here, you want to enter the numbers that are over there, 26, whatever it is.
228.
I think you can hit the plus, not the plus, but if you
You
click
should
on the
just
link
hit the
before
plus sign and it should
should
add it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should
bottom.
just automatically add. You don't see it.
Oh wait, that's the wrong one. We
That's
should
the
put
one in
right
Hood Canal.
Yeah, well, there we go.
And go
Sunrise
next.
Beach.
Then you're next.
Okay. And we do
And you say,
says-
okay. And now it
Good.
wants the specifics of my dive. So I don't know what the surface temp was. The bottom was 47 degrees, the water.
Okay.
Bottom time was 45 minutes.
Okay.
And you know what? It's been raining. The visibility was under 10 feet. My
Okay.
average depth was between 40 and 49. My
Okay.
maximum depth was 60.
Okay.
And there was weak current. It did not affect my dive, but there was current. It was sunrise. And the habitat. So this is where it gets interesting. So you have to look at the descriptions. Sunrise is a rock boulder shale reef. But not everywhere you dive would be that. So it's the top of the center column. You have to click the button, right?
Okay.
And you can read the different descriptions. Pinnacle would be something in Hood Canal, like you have that pinnacle out there.
Mm-hmm.
Cobblestone
Okay.
boulder field is kind of like part of Edmonds would be artificial surface.
What would something like be a Cove 2?
Cove 2 is, I would say I would probably call it a cobblestone boulder or a rock boulder shale reef. I would probably
Okay.
go cobblestone. The majority, no, Cove 2 has artificial structure, but it also has natural structure. So you would have to determine where the most of your dive was done. If most of your dive is done poking around what's left of the honey bear, then you would put artificial structure. But if you were heading out deep where there were other rocks and boulders and stuff, I think I would put cobblestone boulder field.
Okay, so it is important to figure out kind of what you're seeing as well.
Correct. And
Where you're
you can
messing
see,
around.
if you look at the description for Cobblestone Boulder Field, it's a wave impacted area, which, so Cove 2 really isn't that. It is wave impacted, but it's not, the majority of the site is not wave impacted. So that would be more like something in Oregon coast, where the coastal stuff is slamming into it all the time. I would probably go, I'm thinking it's been so long since I dove Cove 2. I would probably go,
Well, artificial for a lot of it, right?
artificial for a
Because-
lot of it. And if the majority of what I did was at platforms and dump debris artificially, like the I-beams at the bottom of Cove 2, those are artificially created. So you could save that. But for what I did at Sunrise, you want rock boulder.
Okay, perfect.
And you
I
click
typically
next.
log artificial for both Cove 2 and Mukilteo because that's where the majority of the life is. Like
Yep.
most of the rockfish and everything tend to kind of congregate around the pilings or the geodome if you're at Mukilteo, and if you're at Cove 2, then you're looking at, you know, the artificial line and all that debris on the bottom. That's more artificial. But if you're over by that rock pile, but you know, if that's the only place you did your survey was those two mounds of rocks there, that would be more natural if that's the only
Right.
place you did your survey.
Right. Now that makes total sense. That works for me. I think it makes sense. Now you would click next on there, Tom.
Sure, there we go.
Now, this is where, so if you were only surveying fish, you wouldn't get the bottom part of this form that has Cnidaria, echinoderms, mollusca, all that kind of stuff. You would only see fish. Does that make sense? And so let's go up to the top where it should start with the soles, flatfish. So click on CO sole where it says none to the right and click single. And then go down to Southern Rock Sole and click few. And then you go down to painted greenling under the greenling family. And
Yep,
click
here.
and click few.
Okay.
So you see how this works, and you just work your way down the paper. So then when you get to the bottom, if you're finished entering, you would click next. I'm not finished entering, so I would click save. Click save. And now the next time I go to log into Reef, it will show me that I have this survey partially completed. And I can go in and finish the rest of it. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Okay, so let's go up to learning resources.
yep,
Learning, that one, right? Go down to archive directory. Click that
okay,
and scroll down. Now keep scrolling. You'll get to California, keep going.
yeah.
Hawaii,
You're going to,
any of this. So Pacific Northwest, okay. So go up to the very first one under Pacific Northwest.
Rockfish Rock.
Are you under Pacific Northwest? Yeah, begin
Yeah.
at way at the top, that one, Rockfish Rock, and click that. And so what you're going to get now is a slide presentation narrated by Jana Nichols on how to identify rockfish.
It's interesting. Okay.
There's a list of fish that she's covering. When you go down a little bit there. And there's you click on that link there and it starts the video playing and you learn about rockfish.
Okay.
So you probably don't want to start that right now because it's probably like an hour long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go back up to learning resources.
Yep.
And go to the other resources on the right. Way over the right, species galleries.
Yep.
Go down to
Okay.
species, yep. And hit Pacific Northwest invertebrates. And this is just going to tell you pictures and describe what you're seeing. for the she squirts. But you have to have a reef number and be a member of Reef to access all of this. And there's a lot of things. Leafy hornmouth today, it looked like someone took and threw them out of a boat. They were all over Sunrise. I counted 20 of them.
Wow. And then you can click on these and I guess you get a bigger picture.
Yep.
Okay.
So go back to learning resources.
Okay.
Go under other resources, under species, it says Quizlets, Quizlet study decks.
Yep.
And so go down and you can pick, this is like a flashcard, like a game thing, where it shows you the fish and you click to the other side. So this is how you can memorize fish for tests.
Okay. Like a beginner fish ID here we'll select.
Yeah. There's fish and ours for all the regions at Reef Surveys. That's absolutely correct. And there's general ones too. There's general ones on how to identify markings on fish, which fins or what fins, and what the difference is between bands or bars when they're described.
Huh. That's kind of cool.
It is.
Okay.
And under learning resources again,
Okay.
right-hand side, Reef Surveyor Toolbox. You scroll down. Yeah. And this explains more about how to survey and what they recommend you have for your gear when you're doing surveys. So
So for those people that are getting into the water, you know, to try this out, hopefully on Sunday,
yep.
what would you recommend they have?
I have survey paper for this area. You purchase it from Reef. It's kind of, I'm going to show you where to do that. It's waterproof survey paper that you can take underwater with a slate with you. So if you go
so
back,
it's actually wet notes. Okay.
It's wet notes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Go all the way up to where it says somewhere on there. It said shop up by submit data. Of course, it's very important. Very important you shop. So it's right up there at the top. So survey and training materials. So they sell slates and they say starter kits. So if you kick survey starter kits. So there's one for the Pacific Northwest on there somewhere. There it is, Pacific Northwest starter kit. And this one costs $30 because it has a whole lot of extras in it on IDs and stuff. But you can also purchase just the basic. So what you get in this is the yellow slate with the lanyard and the underwater survey paper with enough for 4 surveys. And you get the folding laminated ID cards. So I have some laminated ID cards. I'll bring them Sunday to hand out. And I do have some survey paper that people can use if they've already gotten a number in Reef. I do not have a lot of slates. I think I have 2, but I'll bring them.
Okay. And it's just a standard slate, right? Is there anything
It's just
special?
the paper is standard. They sell a heavy, big white slate. So if you go back up to shop at the top.
Okay.
There we go. Survey and training materials, again, where you were. And then go to slates. See, they sell just the slates.
Okay. So you don't need, you could just draw
You can
this
just-
and then wipe it.
Any slate will take the paper, but I recommend you have rubber bands or something to attach it. So can you go back to the other page, if just with the back arrow up there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tom,
So
you're right.
either
If
water-
you just get the slate, they also have boxes on the slate itself that you can write in
That you
and
can
then
write
use your
in.
magic eraser or whatever. Right. So you don't have to have the paper, but if you're new, the paper is definitely
Yeah.
helpful.
So if you click on the waterproof survey paper, Tom,
Oh, this one. Okay.
Yeah. and you look for the Pacific Northwest paper,
South Pacific Northwest.
yeah, underwater survey paper.
And then we'll go in so we can.
It's 75 cents a sheet. and one sheet does 4 dives. Because they're waterproof front and back, and then you turn them inside out and they're waterproof again, front and back. Or like Scott says, if you just want to survey 8 fish you know, you write them on that yellow slate in the little boxes and then mark them. So
Yeah, so it's
And as
fairly
you
easy to
better
get
at
into.
it, you'll, yeah, and as
Go
you
ahead.
get better at it, when you start identifying the species, you start you're recognizing species on your dives, then you'll actually just end up going probably to a blank slate and just writing in like, okay, there's a copper rockfish, and then you put like a little hatch mark on it or something for a single, and then, or an F for single. And, as you start doing this more often, you'll find that the survey paper is definitely helpful for sure. But you'll find that, especially around here, instead of combing through the paper and looking for all the different species, once you know what those species are, you'll just write them down like, oh, there's a copper. So for me, I write down copper single, F for few, M for many, A for abundant. And then as I'm going to the dive, I just change those little letter codes as I go along. And then if I see like a red rock crab, I go, okay, red rock. And I write that on there, and then I do, a little letter code on it. So
there are so many species, Scott's younger than I am, but there are so many species now crowded onto this one piece of paper, and the print is so small. There's nothing like being on a dive and knowing an animal is on there and you can't find it, which means
that's exactly the way I use my slate.
And
I can read what I write.
It's, the printing is very small, and I know rockfish there's rockfish on here that we're never going to track in Puget Sound because they're all up in the San Juan Islands or closer to Canada. So like Scott says, you write down the fish on your yellow slate because they've got little boxes. If you go back to the slates, you can see that how they're organized. Just go back, survey training materials, slates. And if you blow up that one, the standard fish slate.
Standard, the yellow?
Yeah,
fish
the yellow
slate?
one. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see where it has all the boxes numbered. I don't know how you make it bigger because you have a better computer than I do.
Oh, I think that's probably as big as I can make
But
it. Let me see
you can write down the ones you know, and if you see them, then you just check them off. Like Scott said, you put an S, and then if you see more than one, you change it to an F. See how you can go in there and circle it or hashtag it off with a pencil?
Mm-hmm. It seems a little easier to me than the paper, but that's my own personal opinion.
The paper is how they started, and I think they don't want to let go of it because of that. But I have to tell you that in Fiji, the paper was 8.5 by 11, both sides, filled with fish and no invertebrates. It was mind-boggling. So this would have been easier for me had I taken my slate with me. So I do have a couple slates I can bring on Sunday, and I have survey paper, and I have the fish cards, and I'm happy to bring those and lend them out or pass them out to people.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, let me go back there. Okay, perfect. Okay, good. All right.
So any questions?
Yeah, let me stop and see. I'm not seeing anything in chat.
I'm not either.
Yeah, everyone's very quiet. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm telling you, Tom, this is a teacher thing where they just leave their pictures there and no one's actually listening.
Yeah, well, that's and then the other is
Miho's there. She's listening now.
yeah, Miho's
I'm
there.
listening.
Yeah,
I have been listening. I'm multitasking.
Yes, you are. Because your nanny job is any day now.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole story was just ridiculous, but the kids are adorable. I will say that.
Yeah, we're on these long flights coming back from Fiji, and the Alaska Airlines flight seats Miho in an aisle seat next to a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old whose parents are in a different row.
And the parents are also with a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old in front of me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just had a whole bunch of children running around or just talking, and these 2 little girls are so happy that I was another female sitting next to them, because they go, "We didn't want a boy sitting next to us," and I was like, "Yay!"
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But the flight attendants thought I was a nanny. So when they realized that I wasn't, they started giving me Bloody Marys. So
free
that's the
drinks
whole
make up
story.
for everything.
They do. So any questions I can answer or Tom can answer for anyone?
Yeah.
Is anyone coming on Sunday that's on here?
Yeah.
I think I missed the beginning portion of I missed the beginning. Did you mention where the location's gonna be on Sunday?
Yeah,
Redondo.
Redondo. So for those of you, and I know Kai, I know a few folks have actually signed up here that are going. Sunday, our shop dive is Redondo, meeting at 4, and the first dive is at 5. Chris Toomey will be there, and we'd love to have you guys go and kind of do your first survey there. And I'll call out a few folks like Kai and Janine, and I think Ann is also coming. We'd love to have you guys, do your surveys. And as Jackie said, I would pick 1 or 2 things. There's no reason. You don't need to pick everything.
Well, most people knew the pictures that were on my slides, and there's 5 right there. So
Yep. Good.
Yeah, Tom,
Good.
I'm hoping to come. I don't know, Kai, are you coming? Kai's up at school, so I don't know if Kai's coming. And if he doesn't come, I bought 2 of those slates. And so if Kai doesn't come,
good.
somebody can use a slate.
good.
Okay,
Perfect.
good.
Tom and I
Good.
will be surveying the common student fish in the pool at Bellevue.
Yeah. We're going to be doing the deep water dust devil wolf eel, right?
Yeah. Well,
you
I'll be racing there right after Bandito charters. So there you go.
So, but yeah,
Mijo, I dove today, Mijo. The water was very cold. So
Always very cold.
Surprise, surprise.
it was like a balmy 48. I was impressed. So,
Yeah, we kept it on ice for you all while you were in Fiji.
yeah, you did. That's real kind of you. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. And we made the visibility really bad too from all the rain. That's what I noticed.
Yesterday we did we took some surveyors out to Saltwater State Park because they survey it so many times a year on a quarterly basis. And I knew when they jumped off the boat and gave me an okay, I couldn't see the bottom half of their bodies, that they were going to have really wonderful visibility.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I did Sun Rock this weekend and we had an amazing 5 feet of visibility. Yeah. So
Okay.
welcome home is what I have to say.
Thank you. Well, if anybody ever has any questions, feel free.
Yeah, just to kind
I have
of
a
push,
question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Sure.
Rick.
Hi, I'm new to this. I was wondering, how is it helpful with so much overlapping data?
Not everybody sees the same thing at the same tide on the same site at the same time of year. So the overlapping data is looked at in several different ways by the people at Reef. And it could be that I'm diving alongside you, Rick, and you may count 5 more of something than I do. And that's okay, because when that data goes to Reef, they assimilate that and take it into consideration when they're doing any big reports or statistic type things. For instance, once you're on the database, and I didn't go into this when Tom logged in, but if you're a member, you can go into a specific site, like you can go to Sunrise for the Pacific Northwest and sort the data until you find the top 20 fish surveyed there that are reported by everybody that dives. So that can also help you if you're traveling and you want to say, well, what should I wonder what people see here that I should be looking for. And that data is in there. That help? Maybe?
Rick, we lost you.
No,
Yep.
he's connecting to audio.
Oh, he's connecting to audio. He must have had a problem. All right, good. Other questions, other comments anyone might have? So as Jackie said, this Sunday, we're diving Redondo at 4 o'clock with the first dive at 5. Then our next dive is actually June 5th. We're going to take a little break over Memorial Day, but there'll be some of us that'll still be diving. And if you want to join, let us know. But the next dive will be June 5th at Edmonds, which is actually another great place, I think, to do something like this. So we can do another set of surveys there on the 5th, because it's, you know, easy entry, easy exit. And I know there's a bunch of life there. So it's always a great site and never too deep. So good. Other questions or comments or anything else we can do before we go ahead and call it a wrap? I do know that we are looking at, you know, obviously if people are interested in this, we would love to do you know, some quizzing, you know, some testing, studying, you know, using the fissionars, letting people get together. And we're certainly, you know, looking to do that. I know myself, Scott and a few others are interested in doing that to help people learn as well as ourselves to learn. And that's kind of how you move up, right, Jackie? You know, you start to learn more.
There's you're a level 1 when you first sign into Reef and get a number. To become a level 2 surveyor, you have to pass a test with 80%, and there's 20 fish of the Pacific Northwest and 20 invertebrates. Some of the very pictures I took and put in the slideshow today are also on those quizzes. And you need to know the common name and the family name.
And so where are those tests? Because I did I did a few of the seminars and just was goofing around in there, looking at stuff and playing around and stuff. And I did some of the quizzes and went through the quizzes, but then they started like repeating themselves.
Right. I am on the advanced assessment team. I'm a level 4 or 5 surveyor in the Pacific Northwest. I can administer any of those tests.
Okay, so you don't go into the website and do it like a whatever. So
it has to be, it's proctored either online or in person.
Oh, just like college.
By a person who's an advanced surveyor in that region.
Okay, good to know. Good. Okay.
So I can do it. It's you know, it's not a big secret. I'll tell you, you're going to look at fish pictures and you're going to have an answer sheet. and in one row, you'll write the name of the common name you know the fish by. And then in the next row, you put the family name. So
okay, cool.
Let's say brown rockfish. Oh, that's a brown rockfish. So you write brown rockfish, scorpion fish family, copper rockfish, and that's where the books help, because the books will tell you the family name in addition to the common name of the animal. So for instance, a plumose anemone has no connection at all to the Cnidaria, Cnidaria family, but that's its family name. So you would need to know plumose anemone, Cnidaria family. Lewis moon snail, mollusca family. So the books help you figure out the connections between those. Does that make sense?
I'm assuming you can't use the books during the test, right?
No,
Okay.
It's closed book. And when you get up to the level 4 or 5 tests, it's over 100 of each, and it's 95% passing. So you can't miss a whole bunch.
Wow. Okay. Janine, are we signing you up for that?
Is what?
Janine, we're signing you up for that, I heard, right?
No problem. Yeah. So there's level 1. Level 1 is when you first sign in, then you're level 2, then you're level 3. So level 2 is 80% pass, level 3 is 85%. or 90, and then level 4, 5, I think is 95% passing rate. And you're just increasing the amount of animals. I mean, the animals probably repeat. I mean, if you have a brown rockfish as a level 2 test, you might also see the brown rockfish on the level 3 test, to the level 4 test, level 5 test. So.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay.
I have a
Well,
question. So,
Yeah.
for Sunday, do we need to be a member before Sunday? Do we need to have all the materials and the slates?
No, we have slates we're going to bring you that we can lend you. If you want to do a survey and have it count towards Reef, you would need to join for free at reef.org before Sunday and have a survey number so you can submit your survey. But if you just want to come and dive without submitting a survey, you can do that.
Yeah, the most
Miho.
difficult part about signing up is that CAPTCHA thing. I
Yeah.
kept on the I am not a robot. Yeah.
And then it shows you pictures.
You have to click all that stuff before you click log in. And I was anyway. Yeah. So it's super easy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's
no,
not,
that's
it's
true.
all free and everything.
Yeah. Good.
So,
Miho, are you
Miho,
going to
you-
join us? You going to join us on Sunday, you think?
I might join for a dive. But I don't know if I'm mentally ready for surveys. You know, I have some nanny business.
Okay,
on
I
the
was
side
going to say
going
too
on.
much nannying on the airplane or what?
Yeah, too much nannying. So here's Miho. Do you know what a plumose anemone looks like?
I do.
And do you know what brown rockfish looks like?
I do.
Then there you're in. You're surveying. You survey those 2 animals.
Those 5 pictures you showed, I got them all.
Yeah, well, see,
Yep.
and they're all on the survey paper, the survey form. So you just have to write, you know,
I
how many
wouldn't
you
know
see.
their animal kingdom and whatnot. I wouldn't know the
You don't need
specific.
that to submit your survey. All you
Oh,
have to
okay.
do on a survey is say you saw a single one, you saw a few, which is 2 to 10 of them, you saw many, which is 11 to 100, or you saw over 100, which is abundant.
Yeah, Miho, it's all on the survey thing. It's all common names.
Oh,
It's
got
all
it. Got
common
it.
names.
Yeah, it's all common names.
Right.
There's a
And you don't have to report everything. You just pick the couple that you know, right? Plumerose anemone,
Yeah.
well, rockfish. There'll be a couple of nudibranchs that you'll see at Redondo, and you could probably just do those 3.
Yeah, and it just, they don't, Reef is very happy to receive any data they get because we're all volunteers helping as citizen scientists to build their database. But their only thing is that you be positive that what you mark is what you saw. If you see a rockfish and you weren't sure because you didn't see the side of it, if it was a copper rockfish or a brown rockfish, then you wouldn't report it. You would only report a rockfish as a brown rockfish if you positively see the little brown dot on their gill cover and see them from the sides there. That's a brown rockfish.
So does Reef, are they looking for the quantity? Are they, in the big picture, are they looking for quantity of the species of fish? How are they, what's the main
Isn't it like
Yeah.
abundance?
outcome? Is it just, okay,
I mean, I'm
abundance of
guessing,
the species?
that's a question. My question, yeah, isn't it abundance? I mean, and then over time, they use their this is my question or assumption, and somebody can affirm it. Isn't so? Then they use their statistics, and over time, they can see if the populations are growing or dwindling. Right? Is that right?
And they also can see how they're affected by water temperature or
Climate
tide
change,
movements
probably.
or current. For instance, I was at sunrise today and I expected to see way more fish than I did. And the ones I saw was because I stuck my heads in cracks and looked for them because there was current running. And they don't come out when there's current running. So,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So it might be a good time to mention that the reef surveys are not everything that we see in the water. They're only the species that Reef has an interest in. So
Right.
when you're submitting these surveys, you're basically tracking the abundance, like you were saying, over time. And a good example of where that really becomes important is like the sea star wasting disease that hit Puget
On the
Sound
sunflower.
many years ago. Yeah, and that was one of the first things, that alerted the scientific community, was that there were people not noticing that there was this huge drop in population, not only of the sunflower sea stars, but of other species of sea stars. And so that was kind of a flag. So they were able to look at the data and say, well, we've got a really sharp spike here, downward spike here, and that's what's going on. And then they can send that data on to the scientific community, and they can actually start going, hey, maybe we need to look at this. And they get out and start doing research and find out that there's this wasting disease hitting over our sea stars. So that's a great example. And that's a lot of the species that they track are of interest because, like, rockfish were overfished, and lingcod were overfished, and lingcod were trophy fish. So the really big ones is what everybody was after. Well, it turns out that lingcod can only produce when they're over a certain age. And so these trophy fish actually ended up being the females, because the females get bigger than the males. So they actually ended up wiping out the population. So we're tracking that as well, to see how these populations are rebounding after this decimation through the fishing industry.
Right. And so along those lines, and Scott's probably participated in this before, but the month of July every year, Reef counts as the Great American Fish Count. And they're really encouraging fish surveyors to go out and dive in that period of time and submit data online. And you can sign up to be a part of the Great Annual Fish Count on the Reef website once you're a member. And I know that Saltwater State Park is hosting an event with a fish identification course, followed by 2 dives contributing to that on the 9th of July, I think it is. And the Saltwater State Park website has that information to sign up. Actually, I got it on Reef. When I went to Reef and went to the Great Annual Fish Count, and they said, what's your region? I said, Pacific Northwest. That Saltwater State Park class and dives popped up. So
do you know why, so for the mollusks, they only do the giant Pacific octopus. They don't do the little rubescens octopus. Is that,
I think
do you know why?
I think it goes back to what Scott said. They're tracking species that were overfished at one point in time. And, giant Pacific octopus, if you're familiar with Salmon Beach, there's a book written about Salmon Beach, which is the community waterfront going through the Narrows Bridge, where they used to do octopus hunting.
Yeah.
And they had them strung up on big wooden poles, like they were marlins or something like that. So I think they're tracking populations that have an interest in ocean health also. And the little ones, I think, are just too hard to track for that. I'm not going to say that they never would be added, because they have added species over the years since I started surveying that they didn't survey at the start. So,
okay. Interesting. Okay, cool. And then they don't have the oh my God, I had to teach all day yesterday and today, so my brain is kind of fried. Erosion control stuff, but they don't have the the purple and orange. God, my brain is seriously
the ochre
fried.
star?
Yeah, they don't have the ochre star on there.
They don't track the ochre stars, but you know what? The ochre stars also got attacked by the wasting disease.
Yeah, like the worst, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, the flip side of what Scott said about the sunflower stars is people are starting to see them. I know people have seen small, healthy ones in Hood Canal. And I thought I saw one today at sunrise, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't report it. I'm going to wait and see if other things occur or come up. So
I was very pleasantly surprised to find one just not further down the beach from Mukilteo, from T-Dock, over at the Edgewater Park. We found one out in around 70 feet today, which was just really nice to see. And actually the spiny pink sea stars as well, which I have not seen. I used to see those all the time at Mukilteo. There's a whole ton of them over by the train pier down there. I just,
Nice.
That's awesome.
yeah.
Excellent.
Exciting.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is kind of curious that, they don't, after the sea star wasting disease, that all of those species weren't added, because I think we have 21 species of sea stars in Puget Sound. We have like the highest variety of sea stars, I think, anywhere in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And 19 of those were affected by it. So, I mean, that's like the majority of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting that they didn't add all of those to the reef survey. I'm thinking that maybe they were hoping that this was a passing thing, which we all hope for.
But they added stubby squid under mollusks, and if you have really good eyesight, you can find those, because where are they? They're really small.
And I just wanted to add one last thing too about doing surveys. If you have fear of doing it because you're afraid that you're going to report something wrong, don't worry. All the surveys are actually reviewed. I think Jana's still the one that's reviewing all the surveys. And if you report like a fishing CNN or fishing and then an Emmy at like Mukilteo, she's gonna like email you back and say, "Are you sure?" Because those are only found on the outer coast. So there is somebody reviewing it. So don't worry about, be as accurate as you possibly can. But if you mess something up, they usually catch it. So
yeah, and I've done that.
And they're nice about it.
In the last year, and Jana goes, "Are you sure that's what you saw?" And I said, "Well, I thought it was. Do you have your picture?" "Well, no, I didn't have my camera." "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, then just take it off the survey, because if I can't prove I saw it, take it off." But yeah, they're always reviewing stuff. But the common participants that we see underwater, the common fish, the common invertebrates, it's important that we keep track of those, because part of that is just ocean health. And Puget Sound Hood Canal had the oxygen deficiency a couple of years ago, where they had the wolf eels, which were just gasping for airs and stuff because the O2 levels were lower. So
yep. Great. All right. Well, why don't we're a little over, which is absolutely okay. I appreciate you, Jackie, obviously coming and joining us tonight. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, our plan is this Sunday to do a dive, and hopefully we'll get folks out doing their first survey. Jackie will be coming by. If you have any questions, certainly let us know. And then our next dive will be the 5th, where we're going to go to Edmonds. And I did try to reach out. I'm going to try to reach out to the Friends of Saltwater and see kind of what their plan is, because that sounds kind of interesting to get involved in as well. So yeah,
they're going to actually offer a fish ID course.
Okay.
Some of the basic fish that would lead you into like a level 2 surveyor type thing. So
okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. And we're going to be looking at hopefully doing maybe some sessions online to help people get ready for exams as people get more into it, and just kind of start having a little bit of fun with it, because knowing what's in the water makes the diving a lot better. I know I enjoy it, understanding what I'm looking at, especially as you're taking pictures and everything else. So good. Perfect. Jackie, did you have anything else? Otherwise, I'll let everyone go.
No,
if anyone has any final
I'm just happy to get people interested in surveying for reef and being part of the citizen scientist community. So
perfect. All
So
right,
hey,
well,
Jackie, do you take your camera and your slate with you then? Just they like a lot to hold at one time.
Do
you take pictures while you're doing the survey as well?
I do not. Other people do. I'm an infrequent photographer in the Pacific Northwest. I'm all over it when I travel, and then I learned I need new strobes, or a strobe, because my pictures didn't come out. But I have a camera that's clipped off on my gear, and I only get it out if I see a fish I can't possibly understand either because of what it is, identified, because of, I think that's a scaly head sculpin, but it's kind of under this rock and it's kind of shaded. So I'm going to take a picture and look at it later. So I'll take my camera out, take a picture, and then it has a giant clip on it. I just clip it back on my gear.
Ah.
Some surveyors will take like a GoPro with them and a little video light, and then
Yep.
they'll just like kind of film things as they go along, and then they can go back and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to write it down on a slate at that moment. As long as you're recording everything you're seeing, that's the important thing, is, you know,
Yeah.
at least you're videotaping that. And so the GoPro is really handy that way. Some people do that. I know, like, you know, Janet took a lot of photos throughout her whole dive, but like, you know, like you were saying, like you were mentioning, you get to bring a camera with you. You're really multitasking, and you'll actually get hyper focused on what you're taking a photo of, and you'll miss a lot of stuff that's around you. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
So maybe like one, if you're doing 2 dives, one dive do the survey and the other dive do the photo or something.
Sure.
Yeah, so for me, I do a lot of GoPro. So for me, I do a survey down and I do video back up. Or if I end up trying to do a survey down, and I end up like running into wolf eels and they're interacting with me and I want to play with them, then I'll just cancel my survey. I'll just go down and do a survey on the way back up.
Ah, okay. Okay.
As someone who takes a camera, I had just planned on putting the slate and tying the slate off to myself, and then every so often stopping and looking around as I'm figuring out pictures, and just do the slate, and then let the slate just hang on me.
As someone who has sacrificed at least 6 reef slates to Puget Sound, I now only dive with a slate if it is firmly attached to my gear in some way. I've lost them jumping in when they're on the wrist lanyard and I underwater, where'd it go? And I dropped it at depth. I think Delco Wall has 3 of them now that belong to me. So I think the fish are marking themselves. So I usually have a lanyard on it and have it clipped to me somewhere where I can retrieve it and write on it if I want to, but I don't usually dive like this. So.
Okay, good to know. Okay.
Yeah, I would rather lose a slate than lose my camera. Just me personally.
Shocking.
I'm just saying, you know, I will dive after that camera, probably not a slate so much. All right, good. Good. Any other final questions? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and end the evening and we'll look at setting something else up. I appreciate it. If you have any feedback, please reach out to myself, let the shop know. Jackie is always on the Bandito, and she's always happy to talk, you know, so just let us know. But thank you very much, Jackie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Perfect.